Thanks very much. And I guess from the outset, I'd just like to say that this is a work in progress as far as we're concerned, but a huge work in progress on behalf of the Peri-urban group of rural councils, which we formed about 6 years ago. They're the councils that are involved, including us, Moorabool Shire, which is probably more to the west than the northwest, and Bacchus Marsh and Balan. They're the groups that are involved, and can I also acknowledge Michael Buxton from RMIT, who I'll refer to particularly the significant amount of work that's been done, and Trevor Budge, who's also based a bit of his career in Moorabool Shire, helping us with our planning challenges that we have. When I say it's a work in progress, our drive about 6 years ago was to try and save Bacchus Marsh, or my drive was to save Bacchus Marsh from population growth, from development. So we've done a heap of work, and we've, through the support of the state government, through the Sustainability Accord, Sustainability Victoria, and all those councils contributing, and of course RMIT significantly contributing through in-kind works as well, to produce these 3 reports. And the one on the right, the scenario planning, is the most recent one, which was just handed back to the group 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think, Michael. What we were always coming up against in a planning sense, when we were trying to justify something, whether it was recycled water into our irrigation district, whether it was planning scheme amendments, whatever it was, where's your strategic justification, was always the answer that came back to us. Being a small council, like all the other peri-urban group of rural councils, we don't have the capacity to have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of strategic work. There up on the screen is our hundreds of thousands of dollars of strategic work, and in fact most recently when we met with the new Secretary of the Department of Planning and Community Development, one of the questions that we've asked them, and they've responded so far positively, we want this to be accepted as our strategic work in the peri-urban areas. And I think we'll get a pretty good hearing on that when we go to have different planning schemes, different zones, different things across our area. One of the things we suffer from, and no doubt other local governments in the room here, is a one-size-fits-all planning scheme. A residential 1 zone in Bacchus Marsh is very, very different to a residential 1 zone in Fitzroy or Carlton, yet they're treated the same, particularly when they get bounced into VCAT, which generally happens in councils like ours. So what we've done in that scenario planning particular, I'm not going to go through all of this for you, you can read the reports. If you just Google Peri-urban and RMIT, it'll come up. There's a new website that's been developed, and I encourage you to go and download the documents or get the hard copies. But what we did with this scenario planning, and thanks to Michael and his team again, was if we continue on the path that we're going in these peri-urban areas with our current planning schemes, and importantly what council laws tend to do with planning schemes, and that's rape and pillage them, I think, and send them in another direction, we developed an alternative scenario. What if we go down this other path? And these are the principles that we based our alternative scenario on. I'd give a disclaimer here that none of this has been before any of our councils at the moment, so there's still debate to be had within our councils. But there's certainly a buy-in from the Peri-urban group of rural councils. We have the Minister for Planning on board, and we also have the group of councils on board. Just the council laws are the ones we'll have to convince in the next little while. Just to give you a little bit of a sense about Bacchus Marsh, it's 55 kilometres from the CBD of Melbourne, outside of peak hour with the alignment of Anthony's Cutting and the Deer Park bypass, 38 minutes into the CBD. That just gives you a bit of a sense of Bacchus Marsh. The township's up in the centre on the left, and obviously agricultural land all surrounding it, and then more broad acre as you get further out around Bacchus Marsh. This is our entry. I love our entry into Bacchus Marsh, the Avenue of Honour, the orchards, the market gardens and stalls that are becoming a bit like supermarkets these days. But quite a few issues that we have around that, but a lovely entry into Bacchus Marsh, and I guess our aim is to save that and grow vegetables and grow agricultural products, not houses. Just to give you a bit of a sense, we asked this from our council, don't try and look at the detail, but this is a map of Bacchus Marsh North and then of Central of what's going to be developed in the next little while, or is on the cards, or developers are approaching council about developing it. Population of about 17,000 at the moment, forecast to be about double that, 35,000 in the next 15 years. The blue is approved and under development. The red, and they're probably different colours up there, is approved but not actively being developed at the moment. And the magenta, whatever colour that is, no approval, but there's potential there, and developers are approaching council about this. That's just to the north of Bacchus Marsh. This is central and south, and particularly the big green one that's up here, under development at the moment, 1,400 homes. Plus infill development of 643 lots within the township zone already, and particularly larger size blocks that developers are looking at, cutting into 1 and 2 and 3 and putting townhouses on them. We have a heap of other pressures as well, and most of them have been referred to today. But on the right-hand side there, we have significant extractive industries around the area for gravel and sand. Down the bottom left is a coal mine, an open-cut coal mine, and anyone who's been reading the press will know that there's a little bit of activity on another coal mine proposed for the area. And wind farms. We currently have 2 approved and 3 up for approval in the area, which will be about 1,000 turbines. We also have growing pains. That's the township of Bacchus Marsh. If you see how it's sprawling, particularly north and south, we have great access to public transport and also to freeways, but that makes it very much very attractive for people to come out here and contributes to our pressures. What are some of the challenges that we have in the township at the moment? Existing rights and uses, and people have been able to do a lot of things over a lot of years and continue to do that, and how council can challenge them, particularly people who may have a right to enterprises that maybe aren't quite in fitting with the agricultural use of the area. We have the growth areas from the UGB and what we call the leapfrog effect, so people in the Meltons and the Wyndhams and the Humes, where we are today, looking at affordability and jumping across to the next layer, and places like Bacchus Marsh are very attractive for people to come to. The lifestyle and its proximity to major centres, the small country town atmosphere that's quickly diminishing, the rich minerals that we have in the area as well, coal, sand and stone, and all of those compete with what we want, where council wants to take it and where the community wants to take. But then we have legislation, federal legislation for instance, on minerals that sort of does away with your rights as far as what you can do on your property, and people can come in and drill holes if they want. The natural environment, which is fantastic, the river gorges and the bush, and even technology. We're in the second release sites of the National Broadband Network, which again is a fantastic opportunity for places like Bacchus Marsh, but presents challenges when people want to move out to these places. What are we doing about it? And as I said, very much work in progress. We've finished the research, we have the data, we have everything to demonstrate, particularly to state governments, that we've got our act together. We need different zoning, different tools in the planning scheme. Trevor and others might say, well, there's plenty of tools in the planning scheme. We don't think there are sufficient ones for the likes of the peri-urban councils. We have a special use zone. There's challenges with that though. There's already a special use zone around our coal mine, and that restricts people from doing things. So we need to be very careful how we apply that. We need to protect the small business, the farm gate and the stalls. If you've ever driven up the Avenue of Honour at Bacchus Marsh, it's a real attraction for the stalls that are there. How do we protect them? How do we zone it appropriately, because in effect at the moment they're trading illegally, to have those stalls at the front of their properties. We absolutely support them, but how do we get a zone that suits that? We need flexibility in our rural zones, which we don't believe we have, and we want to encourage the farming and the rural activities. There's new zones that are coming, the urban interface zone, and how we can use that, and it influences what we do there. And then all the overlays and all the other protections that we're working on. We just recently, earlier this year, had a river red gum study done by one of our local historians. That's been accepted, now incorporated into our planning scheme. An Avenue of Honour management plan, how we protect the Avenue of Honour, and as I said, grow agricultural pursuits there, not houses. And a local urban growth boundary that contains the growth around Bacchus Marsh and make sure that agriculture is a very important part for us. And that's it, with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. I guess our biggest challenge came through 10 years of drought, and particularly the agricultural pursuits there. We're looking at what can we do? What are the other alternatives we have if we can't pursue the agricultural activities? We could, and I think it was a lady from the VFF who said I could sell up and sit back and earn the interest, and everyone there can. They could get squillions for their properties that are in Bacchus Marsh at the moment. So what we did, we had we formed a group 6 years ago of the key growers, the water users, etc., and grew it from the ground up. So it wasn't like council has an interest in this, but it's more the viability of the farms and the attractiveness and everything about Bacchus Marsh and Mirrabul Shire. So involving the people who are on the ground and what's important to you, and at the time recycled water was, we helped them with a study that we put together, and just one of our major growers, a market gardener in Bacchus Marsh, we were arguing for a $50 million investment into recycled water into Bacchus Marsh. We did a study with this grower, $280 million a year they put back into the Victorian economy, not just into Bacchus Marsh, but all the flow-on effects from a study that we had with SGS. So working with them and being able to demonstrate, and I think similarly with the work that we've had done through RMIT, we can now demonstrate to governments and whoever else wants to listen to us that we have the strategic justification, we've got the work, we can show you that it does work, now you need to support us in these planning, particularly the planning control. So using the key people on the ground, particularly the market gardeners and the growers. And it's very interesting, Trevor, thanks for that. The reason we started all this work, besides wanting to protect particularly Bacchus Marsh, where I was born and bred, is that there was this thing called Melbourne 2030, and that's where UGBs first came, and thank God it stopped at Melton. Then there were regional growth plans, and they did the likes of the regional centres, Ballarat, and we always whinged and bitched, quite honestly, that we were the hole in the donut. We were always left out. So we wanted to develop our own strategy and have a vision for peri-urban areas like Bacchus Marsh. So thank God we're not in the urban growth boundary, and as long as Anthony's Cutting is still there separating us from Melton, we'll stay that way, I hope, Trevor. Mantle Mining, who's currently exploring about 38,000 hectares, which takes in all of the township of Bacchus Marsh and Parwin and Rosalie and Ballyang and Mooneyong, all the places around. Clearly they won't mine Bacchus Marsh, but Parwin, a little place to the southeast of Bacchus Marsh, heading towards Melton. They've done the exploratory holes. Unfortunately, with the 200-year-old rules or 180-year-old rules, anything under your little grass line they can come in and do. It's really only the amount of compensation that can be debated. What we're doing is trying to get community support. Deans Marsh is a good example, and we're taking a lot from that. We've had the Green Senator come. I guess there's two key things for us. We've already got an open cut coal mine in Bacchus Marsh. It's been there, I think my dad used to work there at some point, and the hardboard factory that was there. It's a big hole that is now a dump, a tip site, and it's not dissimilar to the Brunswick-Coburg example. We don't want another one of those in Bacchus Marsh. They say it's not, they say it's strip mining, etc, etc. Our fight will be when they go to apply for a licence. They haven't as yet, they've only got an exploration licence. When they go to apply for a licence, everyone knows about it, the Prime Minister knows about it, the local federal member knows about it, the state members know about it, and I spoke to Matthew Guy, the Planning Minister, just on Friday night about it. So people are aware. The trouble is, at the moment, all things being equal, they can be granted a licence, they can come in and do it, and it's only the amount of compensation. So again, up from the community is the only way we can do it. But I think, quite honestly, when you look at the coal seam issues in New South Wales and Queensland, there needs to be a change in the rules as far as mineral exploration, I think.